Hi, I'm Andrew Tan. This video I'm gonna create to demonstrate the similarity differences of React and Angular 2 that I have wrote. A year ago I wrote Angular 2. So I'm gonna briefly go over that code, and then I'm spending a little bit more time on the React code that I just recently wrote. Basically, so let's see. Let's show you here. Um, let's start over from scratch. Basically, first I will go overview of FDA OpenFDA requirement that was put forth to all the companies to submit. Basically, talk to a REST endpoint on the FDA website. It's open to the public, so you can write your code and hit that website. And after that, I will show what is the REST endpoint look like and what's the REST in JSON payload that is returned from that REST endpoint. That's what basically the code required to parse through, because this is strictly a front end challenge put out by OpenFDA. There is no need to run Spring Boot to write your own REST back end. This is strict front end talking to OpenFDA website. Then I would then do a quick overview of the UI demo on React, and then it does the same thing again, a quick overview of the Angular version 2, version 4 UI demo. Right after that, I will walk through quickly, briefly, the Angular version 2, version 4, the code, how it was done using Angular. And notice the entire video here is strictly Angular version 2, ECMA v6, not Angular JS. I know Angular JS is popular out there, but it is an old technology. It's really nothing compared to the Angular version 2. So I highly recommend all companies to upgrade to version 2. It's not even the same language, it's object oriented, and it's really worth upgrading. It's a lot more robust. Um, Using like asynchronous like promises. No, I'm sorry, observable, which is very cleaner than Angular JS promises, and it's all component based. You don't have like spaghetti controllers and stuff like that. Also, the ECMA v6 standards, it's really nice. Okay, so Angular React also use ECMA v6. So both of these are competing latest framework. Is worth rewriting it in. And then I'll put a breakpoint, and then finally I will go back to the React code walkthrough, which is the main point of this demo. So how the React compared to Angular, how was implemented the same, the OpenFDA using both languages. All right, so let's get started. All right, so okay, move this over here. I have both projects. So, oh yeah, so let's take a look at the website real quick. I have my code on both GitHub. Um, so you can download and run it. It's right here. All right. So this is the Angular code, and if you want to get to it's a little bit slow. Come on. The React code, I also have the same as up here. You can download, and then just npm dependency install and build. And here's a link of this video itself. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the OpenFDA requirement. Oops. Where was that? Where did I go? Okay. Anyway, uh, FDA requirement is right here. Basically, FDA have put out this URL to the public so that we can write our code as a requirement, a challenge, basically. for a single page application. So you can actually go through this and read the requirement. Basically, it's just saying you're required to select a reaction and then grab the result coming back and display it. I chose to make it a next step by supporting 4 different reaction, and so it's more of a search an and or search of 4 reactions. Okay, so let's see. And so I've just done overview of the OpenFDA. Now let's look at the JSON payload that return. Um, oops, whoa. Um, okay. Let's look at the REST URL and the JSON payload. That basically the data we have to work with. This is basically the back end that we're gonna hit, and this is what the data look like. Right now, let's say I do want to vomit. It actually live data pulling it back, so you can have up to as many parameter here as you want. I have 4, for the requirement for reactions. And as you can see, the result you're getting back is an array, it's JSON, and you have the first array is reaction, and second array is the drugs that has those reactions. And then I walk through, I grab the basically either use the mapping functions, basically, and walk through and get to the drugs names, which is active substance and substance name. So basically, and display it to the end user. That's pretty much it. So all right, so let's move on to next steps, which is overview of the React demo. All right, so I'm in the React directory. Standard README will tell you npm start and then start and start. So I will run the start. All right. So this one I will run on the debug mode, so there will be no breakpoint because this is just a UI demo. And then in the later step, in step 6 is when I will breakpoint and show you the code. So let's start here. Basically, let's take you type it vomit, and you get 102 result coming back of all the drugs. Yeah, the UI could use some improvement, or you can have additional let's say let's say let's say you change the parameters to have say pain and also headache. So you change the reaction together and send out into through a query. Um, pain and headache. Okay, so let's try here. And then here you have, because both of them are combined, you have a less of a reaction, less of a combination of drugs found. So that's pretty much it for the demo of the React, and the code itself is I was demo in step 6. And let's go back and do the video UI demo of the um, OpenFDA, which is Angular. Um, see. Both of them are basically JavaScript framework, so that's why you run npm start for both Angular, again version 2, and Node and React. This is Angular code, Angular version 2, and here instead of the input, I go to the extra steps of basically use the drop downs and instantly as a listener, so that you don't have to hit click, and basically it's like single page. There is no go to the next page, it's instantaneous. So as you do here, you get a different number of reaction result coming back, filter based on what you CSS is different, than the other one, but other than that, the functionality I will walk through the code to show you the difference. So let's walk through the code. Okay, so this is the uh, okay. Let's put in the debug mode. So we have, this is basically a debugger. So that way we have a breakpoint in the code. So I just show you so I do a quick walkthrough of this code. The goal of this video is not to do detailed walkthrough of the Angular, but just do enough to make a comparison. So in here, basically, ES6. So you have constructors, basically, and as you notice, what I just did was I click on a drop down that caused one of the 4 reaction on change event, and it hits this debugger statements. And what it is I'm using observable, which is Angular way of doing promises. Java has promises, React has async wait. Observable, you have to, it's a subscribe model. So basically, you subscribe and then you pass in a callback, which is get hug, which is belong to this drug service. Um, so it breaks point here, and basically it subscribe, and then it will go out and invoke the drug service. Okay, so let's look at the drug service code. Um, It is the TypeScript. Angular is all TypeScript. It's compiled into JavaScript. So you see a mixture of both TypeScript and JavaScript. But when you code, you only code in TypeScript. All right. So let's look at the drug service. Drug service has injectables. Basically, that's how you do dependencies. So here you have the get all drugs that is going to be invoked. As you can see here, after the observable returns, basically, and so you have again here the OpenFDA website, and then all the 4 the 4 parameter reaction you see here in blue. It's going to be concatenated and sent over. And basically, when the result coming back, basically it's a HTTP call. So it's similar to Angular 2, similar to Angular JS in that sense. It's using HTTP GET. But other than that, it's much better framework. It's cleaner code. As you can see, it mapped the result back coming back. Okay, so it invokes these map drugs, okay, of the response coming back. And what it does, I'll just quickly walk through here. This is the bulk of the walking through of the this code is what it's really doing is walking through the response coming back, as you can see over here. And basically, so that's what it's doing. And then it grabs the values, the drugs, and then push into the drugs array to return to be displayed, and then it does a sorting. I wrote all this, and it does grab the reaction names appropriate to be displayed. So that's what these guys a reaction name over here that I wrote. And then that's pretty much it that handle the errors. Um, so let's put a breakpoint here. And the code should compile on the fly. So the code compile on the fly, TypeScript into JavaScript. In Angular, you don't have to worry about Babel. In JSON, it actually is built in, so it does all that for you. The framework. So okay, so now we have that, and so we go ahead. That breakpoint is an on-change event. So as we already glued in the drugs service, get all drugs coming back. So this is the subscribe of the observable, and we run it, and here it called the map drug. So basically, this is a result of coming back from the HTTP called the backend already. So we have the data, okay, the response right here. And as we walking through here, there's a for loop here for walking through all the drugs and map it, and the result coming back will be set in here to be displayed. So that's what we have. So as you can see, we have all the drugs coming back. Let's see. So we have these drugs come back for displaying. Okay. All right. So watch then. All right. Oh, let me spell that. And so here is all the drugs that we will get to display. All right. And it loops through all the drugs, and you can see it will display all of that. Now, let me show you drug list component TypeScript, because here is the key piece of the code right here is this template. Over in React, we have JSX. Over in Angular 2, we have templates. And this is the name of the component. Simply right. This is the tag that you will use in the in your HTML. And here is the key piece of code right here. ng4 is Angular version 2 equivalent to AngularJS version 1.x repeat. So we have basically a repeat loop. That's how you get on the all the data here repeated. Display a looping let all drugs of drugs. Okay, this let is a ESX6 syntax, and it's displaying all the relevant drug names and drug reaction. So you have here drug names and drug reaction. So that's basically that's the heart of the code. And down here, basically, so you basically have two components: a reaction component, list component, four actually, for grabbing the reaction on the fly. Okay, I'm not walking through that. What I just walked through is basically this table right here. It's just a list component calling a service component. Service component does the heavy lifting of shifting to and getting the data and for display and give it back to the list component. So that's pretty much it. Let's moving on to React, and let's leave this up on here, and we will compare this piece of code with React. All right. How you close this thing? Close your window. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Code here. We've done the walkthrough here. So we finally get to the React code. We're going to do a walkthrough. All right. Okay. So again, React is also a JavaScript framework. So you also npm start. has package JSON, same as Angular 2. Okay. I'm gonna run it in debug mode. Okay. So here is all right. This thing is a little bit hard to resize. Okay, you have to grab it, right? Okay. So basically let's go in and let's let it breakpoint and I'll show you the code. So, okay, this is React code. As you can see, it goes in. Basically it has three components. React also use component, but it's slightly different flavor. And it has each component has its own JSX, same as Angular template. But here, this method right here is basically coming off of okay, it's coming off of reaction input component. This input component, as you notice, has this method when you undo or unsubmit on the form. When you submit on this form right here, what it invokes is this method, which is the heavy lifting of React. So basically passing these four reactions through a pop. So let's go to the app.js, which is where we were. That's what the point is at. Basically over here, that's what this method is. So it's async await method. So you notice async here, and do you also have await here? So what it's saying is it's gonna it's equivalent to Angular or JavaScript promises and observable. It's a little bit cleaner. I like. Basically, it's just a syntax simply saying you don't have a and complicated, but it's underneath. That's what it's doing. But what it's saying is, it's gonna make a fetch query out to the REST endpoint, OpenFDA, because that can take a while compared to the computer CPU, network traffics, and it returns, it waits, and it basically say, well, wait here and don't proceed to the next statement until that is done. So it looks very much like serial communication, but it's actually asynchronous communication. Very clean. I like that. All right. So basically now it's grabbing the full reaction off of that previous component that we looked at. Yeah, again, you see this hard code over an FDA website, and concatenate all the parameters to be sent over. And then it does an async wait on the fetch. And once the data come back, then it converts to JSON, the data. And here is the main drug array that's going to be put onto the state, set state. Okay, so you save this state away. Okay, and then the render method is going to take the state out. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, so we have a debug statement here. So right now, what you saw here, basically, what we have here, let's do a watch. Okay, so okay. And what it's saying is I'm able to grab this array, and I have all these drugs to be displayed. So you have all this data to ready for the display. So array of drugs. Okay. All right. So we know the data is here. All right. So now it's looping through. Now here is an interesting part. On the notice over Angular 2, you have the let ng4 let. Over here, you actually form. There's so many ways to do this, but this is the cleanest way is you create this component of JSX list of row. You push onto it, and this each of them is invoke a drug found entry. So each entry basically display the name of the drugs. Okay. and then basically you create a whole basically an array of it, and then you display it down here, and that what it does is invokes the drug found component, which is a different component. Apps is one component, but drug found component is it's only one entry, and so you loop through as many as you need. In our case, 104, 102 the drug that was found, and let me show you the drug found entry. The drug found entry is right here. Drug found component, that's all it is basically JSX drug found, and they display the props that's passing, which is the drug name, and it formatted using CSS class name, and that's pretty much it. That is the heart of what you see of displaying the table, loop through and display. The other component that you saw on here, the page is built up, is this first part, which is the input component. Okay, so let's go ahead and let it run. Okay, so here is the looping through JSX component drug found, and here is the input look up drugs that and that component is right here. You see drugs, let's see, reaction input, that is a component that you saw, and here is the loop through the table. Okay, reaction input you saw earlier is basically just this parameter that thought the whole thing. Well, after you hit the click on the form input, and that is pretty much it. So as you can see, for comparison, what we have over in Angular is this loop let ng4 to display the data in a table as a template. But over here, what we have is a drug found, which is one entry, but it's put into a loop through basically an array that is push, just a standard drug found, and push and then display. So it's done differently, slightly different, but the amount of code is pretty much the same. So whether you prefer Angular or JSX, once you've done both, it's actually pretty much the same. I'm pretty neutral on this. But what I like both framework is that is both ESX, so it has object oriented and it's component, and so it's very clean. So I highly recommend you choose one or the other over the old Angular JS. And pretty much it. Other than that, Angular is React uses Shadow DOM, so it's supposed to be faster. However, Angular 4 was supposed to be just as fast. All right, so I'll look for my other video that I will be creating to make more comparison between two frameworks, such as the Redux Flux, which is Flux part of state management for React. Yep, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.